Next up, WoW dev interview, Paul Cubitt and Jade Martin on Midnight. This is with Mr. GM. This interview covers all things Hariner. New rays coming out. We're learning about racial abilities, location, starting experience. Oh, dude, TBC version of Eversong. That's what I thought too. Monty Trolls, like all this stuff. All right, cool. A lot of great questions. Let's get into it.
Developer interview. I'm here with Associate Game Director on Midnight, Paul Cubitt, and Lead Combat and Systems Designer, Jade Martin. Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hello. Yeah, welcome to Germany. Good to see you. I hope you're having a good Gamescom.
Yeah, hey, great to be here.
How's the jet lag?
It's better now.
Yeah.
It's just getting better in time for us to return to the States and then it all to be reset again.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's literally what happens every BlizzCon for me, because we fly in Thursday and then by Sunday we're like, all right, and then it's time to go home. So, but yes, Midnight is coming, 2026, and it was pretty exciting actually to do it here, and like obviously having a big Blizzard presence has been awesome. Like having the booth and everything like that does feel like a mini BlizzCon. I did want to start by talking about the Demon Hunter spec with you guys. So that's exciting. Firstly, I didn't write this one down, but I did just think of it, but it'd be quite cool. So there was a lot of like, obviously teasers for it in Koresh, right? So, and the community obviously got very excited about it. How does that feel? And obviously it was intentional, right? I presume. How does it feel to see like the community getting excited about something that perhaps wasn't announced at that time?
Yes, very much intentional. It was great. The speculation that began, I think there were doubters and naysayers, and then there were truthers. And it was fun to see the speculation on Reddit forums, Discord, the Wowhead posts, everywhere, right? It was enjoyable. It's great when we can kind of tease those things and let the speculation run wild. Sometimes it even fuels, our imagination, where someone might bring something up and be like, hey, not a bad idea, right? So like, there's some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'll add too that like this was done to tease and for fun, but it also gives players a little bit of like a level setting for what Devourer is about, because anytime you introduce a new spec like the Devourer, it's useful to know like what can I expect. Players who have played this raid will say like, oh, it's like that guy who used those abilities to kill me in my raid numbers. Now I get to use those abilities on my own enemies.
Yeah, that is awesome. The community went mad for it, like as soon as it was announced. But I think even the Demon Hunter Discord had like a secret channel where they were like kind of hoping that it was going to be announced. So I'm sure they're really happy. Kind of sticking with the Demon Hunter spec. Obviously, I presume it's. Well, okay, I'll just ask the question. I have a guess when it is, but anywho, when can we expect it?
So it'll be available in pre-patch to play, and there's no questing, no unlocking of it. You'll just be able to switch it into the third spec, Devourer, and play.
Incredible.
Easy clap. All right.
So obviously it's a third spec. Is there any sort of like associated like hero spec with that at all?
Oh, great question. Something that we haven't really covered, but yes, there is going to be another hero talent specialization. Working name right now is the Annihilator.
Great.
It is super cool. You hurl void comets from the sky. As basically the current playstyle gameplay of that is as you build Fury, you call down comet storms, and if you're Vengeance, which this is probably maybe a lead-up question, you actually call down Fell Comets, right?
Wow.
So what we're doing is, for Vengeance, you will be able to be... you'll no longer have Fellscarred, you will now have Aldrachi's Reaver and Annihilator. And as the Devourer, you will have Scarred. Obviously, you can't be Fellscarred anymore, right? We might actually call it Void Scarred, that's still kind of TBD, and then the Annihilator.
Cool.
Excellent. That was like all the follow-up questions as well, so that is fantastic.
Easy, easy. There it is.
I guess kind of a double header here. So like, what weapons can they wield? Are they wielding still like glaives and everything like that?
Yeah, so they're going to be wielding glaives still, but we are exploring some different things that we haven't announced. Is actually potentially doing intelligence glaives, but it swaps for their specs, so they'll still have agi on them if you're playing.
So you would get the Warglaive drop, and if you're playing Vengeance or whatever, like it's going to have DPS, like melee DPS stats, and if you swap to Devourer, it's going to just insta swap to Int. I guess that makes sense. It'll be really weird to see a caster with Warglaives on. Like, how is that even going to work? You know what I'm saying? Like, mathematically, like, I don't even know. Or do you put the glaives on your back while you're casting? I can't really tell.
Havoc or Vengeance, but a lot of their visual effects, I don't know if you guys noticed in the gameplay reveal trailer, have scythes associated with them, so that thematic, as they use their void and how it manifests, is more through scythes, and their glaives will be sheathed on their back.
Oh,
That's epic.
He answers the question right there.
I guess kind of a follow-up on that. How does if they're like kind of mid-range, how does that work with the weapons? Are they throwing them? Are they kind of like going in and coming out sort of thing? How's the gameplay work?
Yeah, great question. So you kind of have two ways that you can play the Devourer. At a base level, you're basically playing mid-range, and you'd kind of be considered a caster, right? Like that is how your rotation would work. You'd be casting your Void Ray, you'd be casting your Reap ability to collect the souls around, the Void Fragments, around you. But we also recognize that one of the key elements to what makes a Demon Hunter is their ability to move around and the mobility that they have. And so what we wanted to do was play into that with some of their talents that enable kind of like a hybrid build of moving in and out of melee combat at a decent cadence. This isn't something that you're going to be doing super frequently, right? Like you're not going to be doing it every 4 or 5 seconds. So that would kind of be hard to get a bearing on your surroundings. But you will be hopping in and out to kind of play into that melee aspect and mobility of Demon Hunters.
That's awesome.
Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds sick. Yo, Vigilant, thanks for the tier 1. Welcome home from Germany, man. There it is. The guy on the left, yeah. Is this a new class? It's a new Demon Hunter spec. It's going to be like a mid-range caster. It's kind of cool.
Are there any lessons you guys learned from like the Evoker being a mid-range spec?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that kind of makes Evoker work from mid-range is their ability to the mobility that they have, right? If they need to be into a melee mechanic, if they need to be in a range mechanic, if they need to get to a group to clump, obviously they're not playing from range, so they're a little bit far away.
Yep.
So mobility is a key for them to kind of interact with the gameplay space. And obviously Demon Hunters have a lot of mobility too, and kind of felt like a really good fit for them. So we wanted to make sure we lean into that and give them the tools that they'll need to be at that mid-range level.
Really looking forward to it.
Pretty cool.
Being in pre-patch, that's
pretty cool.
That's scary soon. I'm really excited. There was actually a YouTube short they posted.
Wait, everyone thinks that there's going to be Void Illidan. I mean, there are parallels to TBC. Sunwell's. Who knows?
With all the animations from them.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I will just say our team knocked it out of the park. The visuals are cool. Their key ability inside of Void Metamorphosis, which is only available when you are in Void Meta, is Collapsing Star, and it is like my favorite ability in the game, right? As you collect Void Fragments inside Void Meta, you build up to being able to use Collapsing Star, and then you just hurl this like huge epic Void Bomb essentially at your enemies, and it does
that's sick.
Like an anime finisher, basically, right?
Exactly. 100%.
I love that.
That's really cool.
I guess kind of sticking with the classes and things like that. With talents, obviously, we're getting 10 more levels.
Yes.
Presumably 10 more.
Dude, I feel like I haven't wanted to try a new class in a long time. But this is a spec. I guess it's not a new class. It's a spec. This is a spec that I feel like I kind of want to try. I don't know how long it would take to get something to max. Probably not even that bad, and they might have boost too. Honestly, it sounds really fun. Malaglos, thanks for the T1.
Talent points. Could you talk a little bit about how the talent points will work going from kind of 80 to 90?
Yeah, absolutely. So starting at level 81, you'll unlock a new talent point. So you get 10 total talent points in Midnight, and we're going to be splitting it up between each of the trees. So you'll get 3 for your class tree. To kind of spend however you want, right? There's probably not going to be any a lot of new nodes. There probably will be some for some trees where they might need it, and then you'll get 3 new hero specialization points. And you're probably thinking, well, how does that work? All of our points are allocated, right? So we're going to be adding an additional column with 3 new hero talent nodes that you'll be able to put points into for each of the specializations. And then finally, you'll get 4 specialization points. One of the cool things that we're doing for this is we're actually adding what we're calling an apex talent, which is kind of a natural conclusion to your spec tree. This is a multi-rank node. It's going to have its kind of own visual representation within the tree, and you'll be able to put up to 4 points into it. And each point should feel very...
Is this guy Paul Cubit and this guy is Jade Marian, or is it the other way around? Because I feel like this guy here is locked in. It's the opposite. This is Jade Martin. Okay. This guy seems like completely locked in. Like the questions are like he knows exactly what he's talking about. Doesn't like no notes. He's looking him straight in the eye. He gets it. Knows he worked on it, understands it. You know what I'm saying?
significant, weighty, meaty, with the keystone, which is the first point you put in, and then the capstone of the Apex talent, kind of having the most weight behind them.
Okay, interesting. Is that kind of in Legion Remix we had something similar, I guess, right? Looking at the talent trees for that, is it sort of like kind of like that, I guess?
There's certainly there's certain similarities. They use the same talent system, right? Yeah. And so there's probably something there, but I would say it's definitely its own unique thing.
Okay, excellent. Completely separate, I guess, now. I want to talk about the Hariner. Obviously, the announced allied race for Midnight. So a couple things on that. I guess, obviously, we met the Hariner in the War Within. We kind of spent a little bit of time with them. Didn't know too much about them. Still, kind of at this point, we don't know a ton about them. But they play a pretty big role in Midnight. How does the story of the Hariner fit into the kind of overarching Midnight narrative?
Yeah, the Hariner we have been sort of intentionally mysterious. They're, as a race, they're insular, they're hermetic. They don't like to kind of leave their home. We've met Orwena and a couple of her followers or hangers-on, her crew, and Orwena's a little different. She has a little bit more of a direct tie to her goddess, and that has caused her to leave their home and start reaching out for help, to start talking to us. Again, not normal for Hariner, not something that they normally do. Once we get into Midnight, we are going to run into Orwena again, have reason to return with her to her home world of Harindar and meet the rest of her people and learn more about what they're about. Like I said, very hermetic, very insular, but they have this direct tie to their goddess and are very tightly tied with the nature of Azeroth itself. Their home, Harindar, is where the roots of the world tree is intertwined. They're very tightly tied with the history of the world, and they have a different perspective on it, having kind of been on their own for so long. So our job in this expansion, at least in the beginning part, when it comes to the Hariner, is to convince them that this fight against Xalatath is a fight worth fighting. It's an existential threat to Azeroth, and they should come join us on the surface. And if we're able to do so, hopefully, fingers crossed, then they become an allied race and are able to you're able to roll as one.
Cool,
fantastic.
I got it. Avatar people.
I guess with that, could you say anything about the racials, perhaps, if we're at that point yet?
Come on.
Yeah, so obviously things are always subject to change, but we have a good suite of abilities that we're kind of happy with right now, so we're definitely... I'll share. I don't think I've actually talked about them, so it's kind of exciting. I don't think many people have asked this question. I think I mentioned one of their racials in a previous interview. So they're going to have an active ability, and they're basically going to be summoning roots that are both friendly to allies, enveloping roots that will heal allies that are inside, but also damaging. These are very smart roots, so they're able to also damage enemies within it. So this will be a targeted area that you put this down. They're also going to have innate critical strike damage and healing as part of their kit. Then let's see what else. Kind of a fun, flavorful one with a little bit of gameplay impact is they're actually going to deal more damage to aberrations and elementals, and also take a little bit of reduced damage. And then probably my favorite one is we talked about the world tree roots. They're going to be able to fast travel between the world tree roots. Some of those fast travel points you might have to go and find to kind of unlock them, but you'll have kind of a base level of tree roots you'll be able to fast travel.
That seems pretty good. I mean, if they have the crit racial, it's like the same as what is it, dwarf? Is it Dark Iron Dwarf maybe has it too? Like the 1% crit damage. Like usually that's pretty good in PvE. So maybe I'll be able to actually send that on the mage. Who knows? Yo, Bergadom, thanks for the prime, man. 6-monther. I miss Illidan. I hope next expansion we can see him. Who knows, man? Who knows? Oh yeah, Tauren. Tauren has it too. Tauren has it, and then isn't it Dwarf? Dwarf and Tauren? Morgan 2 maybe? Yeah, 1%. If it's 1% crit, like that's huge. Oh, sorry, 1% crit damage. Especially on mage.
Brilliant. Well, I guess that's it for my Dark Iron Dwarf then.
Rip.
So yeah, rip to the Dark Iron Dwarf. Yeah, we might have to send that. Someone in the chat says, I feel like the third expansion is going to be fire. Bro, I was thinking about that too. All of this build up on Xalatath for years and years. In Last Titan, like presumably Xalatath will be the last boss in Last Titan, right? I mean, I would guess, right? Like, so we're actually going to kill Xalatath at some point. Like that would be, wait, no? Am I tripping? Hold on. Am I wrong here? Presumably at some point we're actually going to face Xalatath herself, not just a bunch of her minions. Last boss at midnight. She might die in midnight. Dude, whenever we get to kill Xalatath, that is going to be sick. Like that is going to be sick.
That's incredible. Thank you for that. I guess sticking with the Hariner and Harindar as a zone, I kind of the biggest question that I've got from a lot of the community is like, where is it in relation to like on Azeroth?
It sort of defies 3D definition of where it's at.
Okay.
So, fantasy zone, fantasy location. Important to note that it is tightly tied with the world trees. And sort of the nature of them. So we would say within Azeroth, but like where specifically, is it underneath any particular continent or not? It doesn't really work that way.
Yeah. Okay. I guess final thing on those. So obviously an allied race, presumably starting at level 10. And I guess the starting experience, do they get something similar to the Earthen or more similar to kind of other allied races?
Yeah, so TBD on the specific starting level, but you should expect something similar to existing allied races. And yeah, their starting experience will be flavored around what they're all about. You're going to get to learn a little bit more about the Hariner by playing through that experience for sure. And yeah, it should be like the Earthen is a pretty close touchstone for that, I think.
Okay, brilliant. So moving on into kind of Eversong and Ghostlands from kind of Better Crusade, right? This is another question that kind of instantly was brought up with the community.
Yeah.
Will those zones, the original Better Crusade versions, continue to exist in Midnight as something that, for a Blood Elf, if they make a Blood Elf and they want to level through that area, is that still something they could potentially do? Or is there going to be any changes with that?
Yes, so those areas will still exist. In World of Warcraft, we have this tremendous gift we have, which is the Bronze Dragons that allow us to access things that might be no longer within our current timeline. We can go back and do that. So the new updated versions of Eversong Woods and Zulaman will be added to Eastern Kingdoms and be connected directly to them. So you could just fly up there, skyride up there from Eastern Plaguelands directly into them if you wanted to. But a helpful time dragon, probably Zadormi, will be available at any time to allow you to get back into the legacy versions of Eversong and Ghostlands should you choose to do so.
That's amazing. So that actually got my follow-up on putting it on the Eastern Kingdoms map. So that's awesome to know. Yeah. So I'm going to ask this. I ask it every interview because people are just obsessed with it. Do we have anything in relation to more race class combinations coming? Obviously, we have the Void Elf Demon Hunter coming. But anything beyond that, perhaps?
Yeah. So the Void Elf Demon Hunter is coming. This is part of a particularly interesting sort of lore opportunity we had because Void Elves are playing a pretty big role in the story of this expansion. The Devourer Demon Hunter spec, it leans into the Void as well, and so there is sort of a convergence of fantasy there that makes it a good opportunity for Void Elves to want to be Demon Hunters. It also sort of takes a lot for you to want to be a Demon Hunter, right? Yeah. Like you have to give up a lot. So we are aware that this sort of introduces...
If Void Elf is Alliance, right? I think, yeah. It's Alliance, right? Dude, Void Elf Demon Hunter on the Devourer spec. Bro, that might have to be my alt. If I do an alt for Midnight, that might have to be the alt. That sounds so fun. What a vibe. Like, that would be sick. Void Elf, Devourer, Demon Hunter. Dude, imagine how cool you would look. Are you kidding me? Like, dude, I might have to. I might absolutely have to.
Imbalance in between Alliance and Horde, right? This is an Alliance race. The World Soul Saga isn't over yet. There will be other lore-appropriate opportunities for other race class combinations to appear in the future. I'd ask folks who are feeling impatient about that to be patient and wait with us.
The perfect answer. Fantastic. Thank you. I guess another kind of big community question that people are really interested in. So yesterday we saw kind of our first glimpse of the Armani Trolls, the new model for that. Instantly, you see any new model in WoW, everyone's like, when can we play it?
Right. Yeah.
So I guess, we're hanging out with the Armani Trolls in Midnight for quite a while. Is that something potentially we could see down the line, perhaps?
Never like to close doors on future opportunities, for sure. I could see something like that. One thing I am excited to see is that, the Armani have some unique...
Bro, I wonder how much money Blizzard makes each expansion releasing new allied races, and nobody wants to make a new alt with those. Actually, I might, but a lot of people want to play their main as the new race, so then you probably have hundreds of thousands of people buying race changes on their mains, and they'll play it for a few months and then go back, and then a new expansion comes out and they do it again and again and again. Like, it's probably insane. And Finns, thanks for the prime, man. I appreciate it. You have to play the race to get the heritage set too. Right, yeah, exactly. But I mean, you could do that on the alt, right? Except Earthen. I mean, Earthen looked all right, yeah.
Like hairstyles, things like that. If you were a Dark Spear troll, there's nothing preventing you from taking on those hairstyles. So actually, there's going to be some cool cosmetics unlocked specifically for Dark Spears at the completion of the Zul'Aman campaign to be able to adopt some of that style for yourself.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess switching up to the like the raid schedule and everything like that. So it's been a long time since we've launched with more than one raid. I was trying to think about when it was. It was a long time. I feel like Mists of Pandaria, perhaps?
Yeah.
Or Legion? I'm not sure.
Somewhere back there, yeah.
Yeah. So how has that been from a kind of design perspective and just like, obviously they're very story heavy in regards to like, you know, relation to the narrative of the kind of expansion. So yeah, how's it been developing 3 raids at once?
It's been super fun. Like this has been a catharsis for our encounter design team because they've been wanting to do this for a while. They've been listening to players and saying that like we'd love to do some smaller raids again, and so we saw this opportunity as a great chance to do so. And so the team has been really excited to work on these. It gives us a couple different environments to build bosses in as well. A lot of nice variety, and so we're really excited to see how people respond to it. And yeah, like not only is it we're splitting up into a couple different locations, but also these, in particular, 2 of these raids, the Void Spire and the March on Quel'Danas, are going to be really tightly ingrained with the end game story of Midnight. And so one...
Is it like the same 9 bosses or the same 8 bosses just spread across 3 raids with separate releases? Is it still like the same amount of total bosses as one large raid? And if that's the case, when it comes to like Race to World first or like the guilds trying to finish it first, is it just going to be the final boss on the final raid that matters? If you understand what I'm saying? Or is it going to be the final boss on each one of the raids? It's going to be 6, 2, and then 1. I see. 6, 2, 1. So will the sixth boss on the first raid count as a world first? And then the second boss on the second raid will count as the world first? And then the last boss on the last one will count as a world, so there'll be 3 world firsts within the first tier. That's so interesting. 6 is the hardest one out of all of them. So maybe it's just the first, maybe only the first one. Huh, that'll be interesting. That'll be really interesting to see how that plays out. It'll probably just be the 6th boss. Interesting. And the other ones are just like minor ones, like, okay. 1 boss raid for the race wouldn't be fair to Europe. Oh yeah, true, they're a day, yeah.
Leads directly story-wise into the other with a couple quests in between. I can't wait for folks to try it out.
That's fantastic. Do you have any kind of thoughts on release schedule at the moment, or is it a bit too early?
So most of them will release at the beginning of the season, but not all of it. So the Void Spire and the Dream Rift, so that's our 6th boss raid and our 1 boss raid, are released at the beginning of the season. I mentioned at the end of Void Spire, there's some story which continues the campaign after the Void Spire in some additional questing campaign after that, which will then lead into the March on Quel'Danas. Still TBD in terms of the timing, but I expect 2 or 3 weeks in between those raids, and so all 3 of the raids will be part of the first season. They'll all be part of the same tier.
Do you guys like this? Like, for me, it sounds like it's going to be nice in terms of delaying content. Like, you'll have stuff to do and more stuff to look forward to. But at the same time, I can't help but to think it's just so confusing. It's like, what is going on? Yeah, it's like it's time gating rate. Like, it just feels kind of confusing. You know, it'll probably be nice for like content flow and like story flow. But it seems like, yeah.
With just a little bit of and the story continues going on in those first couple weeks of the season.
Do you need to complete the previous raids to go into the new, like the final raid?
No, you can go in. It's really just like the campaign will be linear. So to complete the quests, yeah, you'd have to do that. But no, we if you want to play with your friends, we tend to not involve too much gating in terms of multiplayer content.
Brilliant. In the first season of The World Within, we saw Heroic Week come back. Obviously, we didn't see it come back after that. Is this something we could see potentially in season 1 of Midnight?
TBD on that.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So early access is something that's, I think the first time we saw it was The World Within. Obviously, I think, in my opinion, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great to kind of, build up the character ready for the official launch. It's coming back in Midnight again. Is there anything you kind of learned from the first time doing it that is kind of going to go into this new early access for Midnight?
Yeah, I would say the first early access met most of our goals in that we were able to give people the opportunity, should it be right for them, to get into the game a little bit earlier. But also, by the time we got to season, there was no meaningful difference really between people who had those 3 or so days of extra.
I've got to say, from like a content creator POV, I much prefer one massive release day where it's like the new expansion's out, let's all play. I've got to say, in War Within, obviously I played and had a lot of fun, but like in War Within, when it first came out, like it did feel a little weird. Like, oh, War Within's out if you have early access, but not for everyone else. And then like 2 days later, it's like, okay, War Within's officially out. It kind of like split the release. It felt weird. I would rather just everyone out at the same time, to be honest.
Time to play versus those that had not. We're really cautious to make sure that there's no additional like weekly, once a week opportunities afforded to those who step in earlier. And so we're going to be springboarding off that. There's lessons here and there that we've learned for sure on making sure that folks that we're presenting a fair opportunity for all. But really, like I think we look at the experience of the War Within as being the model for how we build this one.
Excellent. I guess I don't know why I put this one at the bottom, but it's fine. I guess we're back to kind of classes and things like that. Is there any other like kind of major reworks or combat that's happening in Midnight to other classes? Obviously, we got the big kind of sweeping change to Demon Hunters, but is there any other classes getting any notable changes there that you'd like to talk about?
So none that I can talk about. I will say soon we'll have some blog posts prepared and to talk about what kind of our class philosophy and design philosophies are going to be going into Midnight. I will say that we do have some planned changes for classes, and I think everyone will be looking forward to it. We're trying not to leave anyone out. I think we'll have a good representation across. As we go through an expansion, we'll often do reworks. We'll see, based off of community feedback and what problems we might be seeing with a particular spec or class as a whole, maybe even. And we're always looking at what we can do to improve it. Sometimes within a patch boundary in a singular expansion, we want to be a little cautious with what changes we're making. And then we have what we call like an expansion level boundary change that we're willing to make. And those will be often, something that focuses on resources or, a particular class mechanic, something that's a little bit scary to change within a patch. And so we definitely have some plans to do it. We're looking at classes, we're looking at what we're asking you to do. Sometimes it can be a little bit too much, right? We recognize that some classes are harder to play than others, and while some players really like that skill expression, I think we're maybe like getting to the tipping point for a lot of these, and we want to look at how we can make classes feel more approachable and feel like anyone can kind of pick it up and play it while still having that skill expression for players who love that easy to learn, hard to master of World of Warcraft.
Excellent.
I've talked about this before, but what I think makes for really good PvP is somewhat simplistic class design and rotations, and the complexity comes through and the skill expression comes through with things like coordination, communication, positioning, like everything that your character has to do outside of the rotation itself, right? So when you think of a game like League of Legends, I think it's a good example where if League had a PvE mode, it's like, well, you have 4 buttons. There would be an optimal rotation, but it wouldn't be very hard. But that makes for good PvP, right? It makes for great PvP because you can actually focus on doing all the other stuff outside of just max damage, right? And then like Counter-Strike would be like another silly example of like if Counter-Strike made a PvE mode where you're just like trying to shoot and kill a boss as quickly as possible, like you have shoot and you have nades, like how hard would the single target rotation be? It would probably be like somewhat simplistic, but that makes for good PvP. Like, so for me, I generally like the more simplistic rotations because the complexity comes through with the gameplay itself. And I think the same is true to like a lesser degree in PvE. I think in PvE, you want a bit more of the complexity to come through. But I think PvE is really good when a lot of the complexity comes through the gameplay itself, right? So the boss mechanics themselves, the communication between the team, and the rotations don't have to be like impossibly difficult to figure out, but the boss mechanics themselves are the things that you're tackling with your team to try to take down. Like that's what I generally prefer. You can essentially inject the complexity in the rotations, or you can inject the complexity into the gameplay of the mechanics of the fight or in PvP itself. And I generally like in the gameplay and the mechanics of the fight, like for the most part. And obviously it's a mix of both, right?
Excellent. Thank you. I guess finish up with kind of a generic sort of question for both of you. So Jade, kind of what's the feature when you look at Midnight and you're like, this is the thing I'm most excited about?
Oh boy, it's a really good question. Okay, Devour obviously, because I just really like the gameplay style. I love Void Metamorphosis. I love fighting against the tension of your resource mechanic draining over time and trying to stay in that form for as long as possible. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. Housing, of course, is going to be really cool. And then, honestly, the other one we kind of talked about earlier, I really like the idea of three different raids. As someone who can only raid about two nights a week, having the smaller raids to hop in and play with my my raid group, I think it'll just be really good. I think it'll be a nice way to break it up, do like Voidspire one day and then the other two the other day or whatnot. I think that's probably one of the features I'm looking forward to the most. I'm excited to see how it goes for us.
Excellent. Paul?
Can I give you two things as well?
Yeah, you can go.
I mean, housing is obviously like number one, but setting housing aside for a bit, I'm really excited about the shape of the campaign this time around. That we have sort of our overture zone of Eversong Woods, but then that lets players sort of choose which zone they want to do next. Do they want to go to Zulaman? Because you'll have learned a little bit about what's going on in Zulaman by the time you finish Eversong, and you're like, that's interesting. Do you want to go to Hariner? Because again, you'll have learned a little bit about some environmental threats that'll lead you down there, and so you might want to chase that down. Or there's a third storyline as well, which follows Erator and sort of his interrogation of his relationship with the light that will take you to some legacy zones, places like Light's Hope Chapel and Stratholme, and so but you get to choose each of those, and then you get to culminate everything in Voidstorm. All along the way, we're doing more of folding in dungeons and delves into that story, so the actual dungeons and delves that you're playing are punctuating that story in key moments, and you can play through and follower dungeons if you like, including the very end of the level up campaign ends with a dungeon, ends with a big bang. Nexus Point Zenith is the end of your campaign before you move into max level. And then, as we talked about before, that story going into to the raids. Separate from that, I'm actually kind of excited about a smaller feature, but it's a PvP feature. It's called Training Grounds. I love PvP. I don't keep up as much with PvP as I have in the past, and it can be a little bit intimidating getting into PvP these days because there are a lot of people who love PvP a lot more than me and spend a lot of time and are very good at making a meal out of me when I step into PvP. Training Grounds is a mode where you can play alongside human competitors against game-controlled opponents, but in the battlegrounds that we know and love, including Arathi Basin, but also Silver Shard Mines and Ruins of Gilneas. You can go in, learn the ropes, get a little bit better, and then maybe get better at PvP. And so hopefully that we'll get to grow our PvP audience a little bit, and offer folks some opportunities to stomp on comps.
I love that. I'm a comp stomp enjoyer, so.
And just since you brought it up, I do think Slayer's Rise is our new epic battleground for players who do love PvP and do love slaughtering people. This is our newest epic battleground, and I actually think it's honestly shaping up to be one of our best ones. I think it's really cool. I think just marching your way towards the enemy's Dominar, which is like the final big boss fight, kind of similar to maybe like an Alterac Valley, but that whole presentation and how you get there through each of the 4 stages is super cool. I think our PvP players are going to have a fantastic time in there. The epic 40v40, but a lot of side objectives that you can do to kind of split it up so you're not always constantly battling.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Boom, there it is. Dude, I said this already, so I don't need to spend too much time on it, but I'm not a big epic battleground enjoyer. Like, the epic battleground that they're releasing looks cool, but I just don't like epic battlegrounds that much. So for me, it's kind of whatever. Separately from that, I kind of thought about something in terms of the lore. In Midnight, obviously, the darkness is trying to overcome, the world, and there's the adversary of the light. What if the light actually wins against the darkness, but becomes the new enemy for Last Titan, right? Because they keep mentioning that an excess of dark is bad and an excess of light is bad, what if they like, you know, they like sold their soul to the dark? What if they sell their soul to the light to take down the dark, and then the light's our next enemy in the next X-Pack? That has to be it, right? Wink. I mean, yeah. Kind of seems like that would kind of work. It's got to be it. It's got to be it. I would say that's it. If you ask me, I would say that's it 100%. There we go, man. There we go. Brother, since you have nice hair, when you do a fade, why do you let the hair in the back grow? I don't know, dude. We've just been growing just letting a little mullet come through instead of just keeping it completely. It's no reason really whatsoever. Dark versus light. Exactly, man. Warner, what's happening? I mean, we already saw a glimpse of that in Legion. Dude, I was kind of unplugged in the lore in Legion, I think. Okay, so we have this dev interview with Cyber. I don't know if anyone has seen this. What story characters can we expect? New prey system plans. This is with Ian and Maria. Delve companion, delve scaling, M+ telegraphing, boss fight tuning, 10-man mythics. I mean, I think we should watch this. This looks like a pretty good interview as well. And then there's also the IGN interview, which I want to see. This interview, so there's two more. Someone said the Kexman interview is good as well.
Hello, ladies, gentlemen.
WoW Midnight Dev interview with Laura, Sardana, and Toby. Player housing, UI, and add-ons. So there's Cyber, there's IGN, and there's Kexman. I mean, we could watch them all. Good to send all of them. That Midnight trailer really put the mid in it, huh? You given any critical feedback or just shilling 100%? Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I thought it was solid. It definitely wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't my least favorite. I thought it was like Alter Time SK also has an interview. Oh my gosh, how many interviews are there? Is it in Spanish?
To make sure they have the information they need, make sure the information is there to begin with. So
that sounds good. That sounds like a good area to.
It's in English. We have many videos, many videos. Yeah, much better than Warthins. I would have to watch Warthins again to like actually compare it. I don't know. Did I get to ask the devs about Classic Plus? I did not. This was more of a midnight focused event though. I don't think we got any Classic Plus info. And I'm like most excited for Classic Plus, so I feel you there, man. Just from Reddit, but someone said a lot of the cutscene team got laid off could be a reason why it's waxy. Interesting, okay. Check the Ligma interview also. Ha 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 ha. Is everyone at Blizzard 50 plus? I have no idea. Warthins was more of a highlight reel. I feel like I don't remember people having that much positive to say about it, but yeah. Can I still do planche, muscle ups, and one-handed chin ups? Yes, but probably not as well. I don't really train a lot of like elite bodyweight movements like that, at least right now. The only bodyweight training I have in my current routines are ring dips and handstand push-ups and weighted shins. There's also a video from the Dev Hour. Oh my gosh, where is that? Dev Hour YouTube. Wow, World of Warcraft. If I'm missing something, you could also like clip it and link it to me. There's this too. Marcillion Online. Same two devs. They talk about Demon Hunter. Oh my god, dude, there's so many. Yo, we got him. Wait, what? What did I say? Oh no, is the last one a troll? Wait, what interview was it? There's also a video from the Dev Hour. What are you guys talking about? Dev Hour. Devour / commercial 180. Yo, Biohazard, thanks for the prime. 22 months, appreciate it. Season of Discovery Season 2. Oh my gosh, imagine writing the word season one more time. Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Even if you are now very kind with the devs, you will play 3 weeks and go back to RuneScape or WoW Classic. I mean, yeah, like I'm a variety streamer. I'm going to play everything. Not just WoW, not just Classic WoW, not just RuneScape, not just League. I feel like I've had to repeat myself a lot, but I want to make it very clear. I no longer intend to play just WoW. I no longer intend to play just Classic. I no longer intend to play just League. I no longer intend to play just RuneScape. I'm going to be playing everything as I want to. as it comes up, as it's hype, as it's exciting, as there's new stuff to check out, as there's new stuff to make content for. So for all these people that are like, oh, this, that, like, oh, you're going to play this or Classic or RuneScape, or it's like, yeah, I'm playing it all. Done.